Welcome to Business Spotlight, a signature series from the National Society of Black Wedding and Event Professionals. This is the show where we shine a light on the people, the stories, and the passion behind the brands. Each episode, we sit down with one of our incredible members to explore the journey, the culture, and the character that fuels their business. It's not just about what they do, it's about why they do it, how they got started, and what keeps them going. From bold startups to beloved staples, we're celebrating the entrepreneurs who are shaping the wedding and event industry, our community, one story at a time. So, whether you're here for inspiration, connection, or just good conversation, you're in the right place. This is Business Spotlight, where business gets personal. Today, we're thrilled to introduce a powerhouse in the wedding and event planning industry, Irene Tyndale of Irene Tyndale Wedding and Events, based in the vibrant city of Atlanta, Georgia. Irene is more than just a planner. She's a visionary, a strategist, and a mentor. With over a decade of experience, she's known for curating unforgettable celebrations that blend elegance, precision, and personality. Her work has graced venues across the Southeast, and her commitment to excellence has made her a trusted name among clients and colleagues alike. Welcome, Irene Tyndale of Irene Tyndale Weddings and Events. Hello, everyone. We are back for another edition of Business Spotlight of the members of the National Society of Black Wedding and Event Professionals. And today I have with me, all the way from the Dirty South, Atlanta, Georgia, Miss Irene Tyndale of Tyndale Weddings and Events. And we're just going to chat with her, get to know who she is, what she's all about. We're going to have some fun, our business spotlight. So for you to get to know who is the person behind the brand. So we're going to get started. Hi, Irene. How are you today?
I am good. I am good. Feeling happy. Kids went back to school this week. So back to some kind of normalcy. Summer was a little crazy. So
Right.
I'm excited that everyone's back at school.
All right. Well, it's early, isn't it? It's like the first of
Yes.
August.
But don't feel bad for my kids. We finished school the Wednesday before Memorial Day. So, and then we have a bunch of other like breaks in between all year. So I'm like, everyone's like, it's early. I'm like, no, it's time. They've been out since before most kids were out of school. Our county was
Right.
out. They're good. It was time for them to go back. So we have a senior and a sophomore.
Oh, wow. Almost finished.
They almost finished with one. Are we ever
Well,
really
as we're
finished though, is what I say.
Well, as we're talking a little bit about family, kind of tell, like,
Mhm.
who is Irene? Who is this woman behind the brand?
Oh goodness, that's a good question. So guess it depends on the day of the week and the time of the day. So no, so my name, like I said, Irene Tyndale. I've been married to my college sweetheart for 21 years, together for 28 years. So shout out to him because I got such a great last name when we got married. The joke was we were friends, and we were in college. We were sitting around a table. We were just talking about, our future spouses. And I always said that my maiden name is Montilla, and it's such a unique Latin name that I was like, I can't marry like a Jones or Rodriguez or like a normal basic name, with a Black or Spanish name. And my friends are like, really? I'm like, no, but then if he has a good last name, I'll change my name. So when he and I actually got together, we started getting serious. He was like, so will you change your last name for me? And I was like, Tyndale is actually pretty cool. I'll change it. So I've been married to my college sweetheart for 21 years. We have two beautiful children. Like I said, senior and a sophomore in high school. Um, and I became a planner over 25 years ago before Google and YouTube University, is what I always say. So I started planning events in college. Did my first wedding in college when I was like 2021. One of my girlfriends eloped when she went to go visit her boyfriend who was in the army, and he came back. And I looked at her and I was like, "You actually?" I had never met anybody, Tyler, who actually eloped in real life. Like, you saw it on TV. And I was like, "Who does that? We're good Catholic schoolgirls. Like, we don't elope." I was like, I had never met somebody who eloped. So the moms got together and forced them to have a wedding. And she was like, I need you to help me plan this wedding. And I was like, I don't know. I've been to like one or two weddings in my 21 years of living. And she's like, it's an event. It's another event. And that's where kind of the love of wedding planning came from, little by little. So I've been doing weddings and events for over 25 years, started in college, and have had my business. In November will be 13 years that I've been doing my business full time. But in between that, after college, I was a corporate planner by day, social planning by night, worked at hotels, as a catering sales manager. So I know the back of the house as well as I know the front of the house, is what I always say.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And as you were telling your story about yourself, you said your maiden name is, say your maiden name again.
Mantilla.
Okay. And what is your background, your heritage?
So parents are Puerto Rican, and so my mom's side of the family is Taino Indian, which is the natives of Puerto Rico, and Spaniard, and then my father's side of the family is African and Taino Indian, so it's African and Spanish, so a little bit of both. So my maiden last name is Montilla, which is the lace veil that Catholic women, whether Latin or Italian, wear on their heads to go to church. So whether they wear black if it's a funeral, they wear white if it's white or lighter colors, if it's just like every day. But then in Spain, when you buy them, they could also get a mantilla veil that it's like cathedral length, all lace, Spanish lace, which is funny because I wanted one for my wedding 21 years ago. And my grandma was like, do you know how much those things cost now? So, and this is before you could order things like, on the internet easily. My grandmother was like, we would have to put an order to somebody, in Spain and da, da, da. So that went out the window. So I was telling my husband, I was like, we have to make a trip to Spain so I can buy one of those to save it for our daughter's wedding because they're beautiful. They're beautifully made.
Lovely.
So that's that's my maiden last name. And so it was funny because growing up, the double L in Spanish is ja, and I would say the American way, I would say Mantilla because that's just how everybody else said it. And my mom would always correct me, like, no, it's Mantilla. And so I always corrected it. So now I have, my daughter has a Spanish first name, so she's always correcting people, which I was like, I told my husband when we named her name is Elenia. I said, people are not going to be able to say it. He's like, she's going to have to just correct people. It's not hard. So, but yeah, that's my maiden name.
Awesome, awesome. Are you fluent in Spanish?
I am. I do speak Spanish. Not as fluent
Awesome.
as I was born in New York, so I'm a New York Rican, right? That's what they call it. Like I'm a New Yorker, but I was raised very, traditional, and so I speak Spanish well enough to get by. And I always tell my mother I need to practice more. So anytime I speak to my mother, it's fluently in Spanish, unless we're a mixed company. Like it's full conversations in Spanish. No matter who, if everybody's in the house, it's Spanish. She speaks to the kids in Spanish only when we're around, so that way we can understand it.
Awesome, awesome. Love that. I always admire people that can speak more than one language. And I always said, I wish
Mm-hmm.
I would have paid attention in high school because I took 2 years of Spanish. I should be fluent, but I'm not. But, I always admire
Duolingo,
people.
do the app Duolingo. Like my kids, that's what my kids they love that app. That's what teaches them. And what I like about that app though too, like the app has gotten so much better. It started off really elementary when the kids were little, but now adults are using it. Like if there's like a hospitality lesson, there are like different types of things that you can click to teach, like how to order at a restaurant, how to travel. I'm like, so yeah, you should play with it just for fun.
What's it called again?
It's called
What is that?
Duolingo.
Duolingo. Awesome,
Mhm.
awesome. I have to take that note and research that. Getting back to your company, how did you come with the name? So it's a signature name. You named the business after yourself. Was that something that you had
Yeah.
always thought of?
No, it's funny because I am like my friends, my college friends all joke because they all talked about when we were in college, they all talked about owning their own companies. Did we know that that was considered an entrepreneur? Then no, it was like they decided to own their own companies. Like, oh, one day I want to own a record label. I want to own this. I want to own that. And I'm like, great, you all own your companies, and then you could hire me to plan your events. Is was my philosophy, and I was like, and I could be your in-house planners. I never thought about being an event planner or having my own business. And I always wanted to be the chick in the corner office, giving my bonus check at the end of the year. I want to run things and I want to go home. So when, my husband says when God released me from my last corporate job, my last hotel job, he was like, you should start your own planning business. And I looked at him and laughed. I was like, This was like 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. I was like, no, I'll have a job. The latest is March. I'm going to take this time off. The kids were 2 and 4. I'm going to take this time off and enjoy the holidays. Like, you know, because if you work in the hotel industry and the hospitality industry, holiday parties was huge for us at the hotel. And we had mitzvahs and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, for the first time in 4 years that we've had children, I actually get to enjoy the holidays and do all this fun stuff during the weekday. Like I was excited. Like I was like, I get to go to classroom parties. Like I was excited. And then he was like, maybe a week or so after, like this thing of being let go got softer. He was like, I think you should start your own company. And I was like, no, no, no. And then it was so funny because so two of the brides that had booked with me at the hotel because they loved me, that we were kind of full service, found that I got let go, and they found me on Facebook, messaged me like it was crazy, and were like, "We need to meet. Give me a call." That kind of thing. So my first two weddings came from that, and at that time I was called the wedding specialist because at the last hotel I was at, that was my title. Like I was catering sales manager slash the wedding specialist. That was like the thing. And so it kind of revolved from that. And then one day, my husband comes up with all the greatest ideas. He's a marketing major. He was like, just name it after yourself. Like even my website, like even my .com, he's like, just make it Irene Tyndale. Because if you Google Irene Tyndale, there's no other Irene Tyndale. Find another one, let me know. Like I'm hoping that a grandchild is named after me. But other than that, you know, that's what I'm saying. I'm named after my grandmother. I need somebody to name my granddaughter Irene. But he was like, just name just IreneTyndale.com. And then one day he was like, just name it Irene Tyndale Events. Like, just call it Irene Tyndale Events and, you know, call it a day, make it easy. And I was like, you know, you're right. He said, then you don't have to worry about trademarking or somebody taking it from you or anything like that. So it's just kind of, and I have such a love for scandal. And she always says it's handled. And so he was like, think about all you do, it's handled. Like, I'm like, yeah, it's handled. So it's like we always say it's handled at Irene Tyndale, and so the IT. So we play off of that. So it all kind of worked out really well.
Okay, go. Husband gets brownie points for naming the
Exactly.
business and look and give you that extra push, the extra drive to go for it. So love that support.
Yeah.
Now, does he
Mhm.
help you in the business?
You know, he does. He's our unofficial IT department. So I was like, you're like the CTO, the COO. So he does our SEO for us behind the scenes. He's updated the website because we had the website, the rebrand. We did a full rebrand in 2019, released it in 2020, in April 2020, when we were all sitting at home. What else were we doing, right? And so I love my brands, but then, you know, over the years, I'm like, hey, can you just update this for me? Can you update that? The SEO was acting wonky at one point, and he went in and cleaned it up, and it's a game to him, right? Like he learned it. He has learned SEO and kind of went in instead of playing with it and looking at the ranking. It's so funny because I didn't know how competitive he was until we had kids. Because I'm not competitive like that with you. We're not gonna compete. We're husband and wife. We've been together. But like he would play Uno with the kids, or like, and he'd be like, I got you. I'm like, you're not gonna let them win their babies. He's like, nope. And so when it came to like the marketing and the SEO behind the scenes, he loves it. I'm like, you don't even have to show me what you're doing. Just do it. I know what you're doing is working when the inquiries are coming in. It's what I say. So yeah, so he does that for us. And now with I have a podcast. He does all our editing for the podcast for that. So yeah, he does stuff. He says I'm the unpaid employee. He says.
Look, tell him he still reaps some of those benefits.
That's what I said. I said you get special payments.
Yes, yes, yes. You've been in business now for over 20 some years, and I'm sure that you have seen it all, heard it all. What's that one misconception about an event planner, wedding planner, that either it's under your skin or something that you want to just clear up?
As I was sitting at a table full of planners, um, it's hard because there's so many things that you could think of, but the thing that comes to top of mind is the fact that the first thing is that we're not all created equal. We're not all created equal. And the fact that, you know, you have planners that, I'm just gonna say, you have planners that roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty, right? Like I always say, I never ask my team to do anything that I won't do and I've never done, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that then you have the ones that are pretty and they just sit around and point fingers and say, hey, do this, do that, the other, or don't lift any fingers, just gets under my skin. So I feel like sometimes, because it's that one bad apple, right? One bad apple ruins the whole basket. And I hate this every single time I've worked with somebody new that I've never worked before. It's kind of like Groundhog Day, right? Over and like you feel like it's over and over, but it's like, okay, I'm not the last person, the last planner you work with. I do work. I coming in here, I'm friendly. Like the biggest compliment that we've received, Sarah, constantly, and it's part of our core value. It's part of our SEO. It's part of training for my team is kindness. Like you're so kind and you're so easy to work with. And I'm like, we're in the hospitality industry. How can we not be kind? Like I just don't understand that. But the also misconception is that we're all bossy and telling everybody what to do. If all that makes sense, right? Like it's kind of like I look at it as like we're one big team. We're one big team, and I go into it one big team. I know a little bit about what every vendor does, enough to be able to educate our clients, but I'm not going in the kitchen telling chef how to cook something. I'm not going to tell, so I work with Torin a lot, one of our other members, how to mix music together. I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna tell the photographer what light setting he needs to be on or what he can or cannot do. I'm working with each and every one of them like, hey, what do you need to be successful for our client? Because we have to work together to make it work. And it takes all of us to do it.
It really takes that collaboration. It takes that communication,
right.
And also that trust too. We have to be able to trust each other that we're going to come together and bring our A game. And hey, and when we slip a little bit, we got to be open enough to be like, okay, you know what? Irene told me today that it's not your usual, your gameplay. That's not what you usually do. What happened, rather than pointing the blame, but identifying that there was some weakness there. Say, hey, you know what? I see that, this is like not your norm. What was going on? How can we correct
Are you
it?
good?
Or was it something that I didn't convey to you that you didn't know about? And I think it's that trust, that communication, to make these, us all come together and just, work on the same accord.
Yeah, I think true. It's true. We always say community over competition and collaboration, but it really, really does take that. It takes being open to that, being open to correction. Like it doesn't, as a planner, it doesn't feel good when I have to come back to one of my, my partners, my vendor partners, or be like, hey, one of your teammates wasn't up to par, but I'm not saying that's all of you. That's not the whole company. I'm just saying that. But you're right. And the times that I've brought that to somebody, and I'm like, are you okay? Like, I'm a New Yorker. So I'm like, are you good? Are you good? Because they're like, no, let me just tell you, something's going on with my mom. Something's going on with the kids. I just lost 5 team members. I've worked my fifth event in 2 days or whatever the case may be. It's also extending grace to each other back and forth and being open to that criticism. Like, I'm going to tell you this right now. I have colleagues who don't look like us, who have no problem picking up the phone, calling and telling me, this is what's going on. What I saw, this is what happened with one of your team members. Can you correct this? Instead of turning around talking about it behind our backs, right? The rest of us be like, I'm just not gonna work with that person no more. But how about, like you said, they might have had just an off day. We're human. Like we're all human. Like everyone's doing that. I mean, same thing with clients. I have some of our lead planners calling me like, Susie Q is not returning none of my calls or my text messages or my emails. And I was like, did you see how she's doing? Maybe something's going on at home, the kids, if they have kids, their parents, jobs. And they're like, oh, you know what? I said, just message them and see how they're doing personally. And they're like, you know what? You're right. And it's every single time they come back, they're like, yeah, something was going on. Now, so Tyra's point, if you have these conversations with the vendor or with, your colleagues, and they're not correcting it, then that's when you be like, peace be with you, and you move on.
Indeed, because look, you've given the grace at that point. You have given the grace at that point. Indeed. So we're talking about vendor partners, and colleagues and teams. How do you build strong relationships with clients and your vendor partners? How do you go about with your networking?
When it comes to networking, I always tell people that when I worked for someone else, I had no control over who booked the venue or not. Like I had to book them because I had financial goals, and the company didn't care if the person had five horns sticking out their head. They had the money to book a wedding or an event. I'm supposed to book them. But when you have your own business, it's kind of like if you go to a restaurant, it says they you have to have shirts, you have to have a shirt, a pair of shoes on your, and they could service who they want to service. It's the same thing. I am a very much feel person. I feel it. Like I feel certain things. I've been doing this long enough that I could feel crazy from a inquiry to a discovery call through a text message. I'm like, oh, this is not going to be a good fit. Like if I talk to a couple and the first thing out of their mouth, which rarely happens, but I've had a few times happen, like I want to be published. Like that's like first thing out of thing. I'm like, well, any publishing that we've had has been organic. Any awards we've won is because we've worked hard on organic. Our job is to create publishable events, but not publishable meaning it's beautiful in your eyes. But if somebody else picks it up and be like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful enough to put in a magazine, on a blog or whatever, then that's an honor, right? But I also, when I'm talking to couples on the phone on the discovery call, I'm getting into all the nitty gritty. Tell me who you are. Tell me about how did you meet? How did you guys, how did the proposal go? Tell me about your family dynamics. When I tell you, that's one of my last questions initially before I tell them what I'm doing, what we could do for them, is I want to know their family dynamics. And 9 times out of 10, we book those couples from that one question because they said, I've spoke to 5 planners and not one person asked me about my family. And I was like, how can't you? We all came from somebody. None of
Right.
us just, we didn't hatch. None of us hatch. We all came from people. Like, who are your people? Who are your people? Do you have multiple sets of parents? I had one bride that had a mom and two stepdads and a dad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that was the reality. And they all got along beautifully. And everything was good. Then I've had people that are like, these people don't get along. I need to know it all. Because how else am I going
Become
to
that
service
temporary
you?
family member. As planners, we
Right.
become that temporary
Yeah,
family
yes,
member.
absolutely.
Hmm.
We do. And I tell them too, I to the ladies, I tell this to my brides, I said, after your OBGYN, I'm the most intimate relationship you will have. And they laugh. And the
We
guy,
hear it all, especially after they get comfortable with us. Oh, we hear it all. We hear all the
oh,
family gossip.
yep. It's the family. And it's funny when I'll say that if the guy is on the call, he starts laughing like uncomfortably. And the bride goes, oh my gosh, you're so right. I'm like, no. I was like, and so if you're not ready to be that open, and the reason for that is I want to get to know who they are. I asked them, what are their priorities? Like, do you want it to look like the Atlanta Botanical Gardens indoors? Are you wanting a great DJ, a great band? Are you wanting good food? Like, what is it your priorities are? And then what's keeping you up at night? What's giving you nightmares? And the grooms always laugh because it's mostly the brides are like, oh my gosh, yes. The groom is like, nothing's keeping, my husband would be like, nothing keeps me up at night. Like he has the gift of sleep. And so it's kind of getting to know them and letting them know that you're human, just like they're human. I have a family, I have parents, I have kids, and then just kind of being open with them and letting them be open with us. So that's how I take care of, like, with our couples, get to know our couples to the point that when the wedding is over, they're sad because they're like, we're not going to talk anymore. I'm like, you can always call, you can always message. Some of them I actually have drinks with them still. I get
Right.
baby cards, and like I have some that are still like, they're like, you're my godmother for life. I'm like, great, that kind of thing. But when it comes to vendors, it's the same thing, just getting to know them on a personal level, having drinks with them, having dinner with them, just getting to know them, who they are, like asking them. And sometimes even when we meet up, for lunch or something like that, to be networking and collaborating, we talk about life, like what's going on with your
Hmm.
family, what's going on with the kids, like, oh my gosh, you had a baby, my condolences, you lost your mom. It's just getting to know the person before the business, really, because we're all
Hmm.
at the end of the day poor. Especially, that's one of the things that I'm so proud of in 2020 was so many hotels and venues and vendors were like, we're appreciative because you called us. The elephant's in the room. I'm calling you because you either have to cancel or we have to postpone. I know what the contract says, but as a planner, I have to call you anyway. But before I get down to business, how are you doing? If I know you have family in Florida, how's your parents, or New York? Like getting like 20, 30-minute conversations about this madness that we're in. It's like, okay, girl, well, you know what I'm really calling you for. I'm glad you're good, Well, what can we do about this? And that,
Mm-hmm.
because of that, though, just that slight gesture, people are like, we love you. Because there's a lot of planners have called and are nasty on the phone when none of us are at fault for what's going on right now. And they're nasty on behalf of their clients. And so what I teach my team, any planner that I coach, is you have multiple clients. You have our clients who are getting married, but then you have our vendors. And those to me are also customers and clients. And I treat them just as well. And the reality is, and you know this being in business for years, these vendors and venues will keep you more booked than your couples every year.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Awesome. So what sets Irene Tyndale apart from other planners?
It's funny because I've heard people say this, and this is the best explanation is that we all have the same features. We all service, we all offer the same features. We all make timelines and diagrams and A through Z. Like we all have the same features. It's the benefits. And the top benefit for me is my years in this industry. And I technically have seen it all. Every once in a while, people shock me with what's going on, but I have seen it all, experienced it all. I'm at that stage now that I'm like auntie status. I'm like, no, I'm your big sister. I'm the auntie status now for a lot of my couples. So not only the longevity in the wedding and event industry, the fact that I've been married for 21 years, and that I'm old school hospitality hotel girl. Like I understand how to read a banquet check and a contract like nobody's business. I understand room blocks really well, and we love logistics. Like we love logistics and people moving and getting people all that. And at the end of the day, we're hospitable. Like it sounds crazy to say. Every time I say it doesn't like it's one of those things that like I still can't get over the fact that kindness is a core value that is talked about all the time in reviews on our different social reviews, or even in just conversations and with vendors and venues and couples and their families. It's like, oh, you're so kind and gracious, and you're easy to work with. And so I know that for a fact, right? And it's so the benefits is more outweighs your features. We all have the same features. Like we all do the same thing. Some of us do it better than others. um that we have a lot of automation in our company to make things easier for our couples. And I think that our overall brand, when you see it online, fits with who we are and how we operate as well.
And through all of this, what's been keeping you going for 20 years? What inspires you?
I truly, truly believe, no, I know for a fact that it's what I was placed on earth to do. Like I could plan a wedding, an event, blindfolded, gagged, hand times behind my back, like easy. Dwayne, my husband, jokes and says, I've seen you plan an event for thousands of people and not lose your cool at all. But being a mom, it drives you like your patience is thin. And I said, well, at work, when I say move left, they go how far? At home, when I say move left, everybody goes right. So that's it. So it's truly something I truly enjoy doing. My coach is always trying to say, like, okay, as the owner and the CEO, you have to step, she always coaches like, when are you stepping back from doing events and weddings? And I don't know if I ever will. Like I actually enjoy, making something out of nothing. I really do, from start to finish. And what keeps me motivated or inspired is just the changing times, right? I love, you know, I love combining the traditional with touches of modern, right? So all my couples are like that transitional design type of thing. So there's a classicness and the classic traditionalness of weddings that I think I love, and then you add all these little modern touches here and there. Is good. It's a good combination of the generations. Is what I love to do. So that's what kind of inspires me. But I know for a fact that I think I will be planning something to the Lord calls me home. And then the joke around here is that I'll probably be planning things in heaven too. Be like, no, 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 I don't
Lord,
like the
how are
efficiency
you
of
doing up there?
like I don't like the efficiency of the people coming through the pearly gates. I said maybe we need to have a little pre-reception before they come into the pearly gates.
Greet them with a cocktail, some appetizers. We'll have
Why
a
they
little
wait.
pre-reception before we take you on.
That's a
Look,
joke
Irene,
around
I
here.
like
Yeah.
your passage. I like your passage. That's how all event planners are going to get to have it. We're going to have our own little
Listen,
cocktail reception.
yes, yes. Oh my God, there was a joke. This guy had a joke. He said, I feel like when you get to heaven, the Chick-fil-A workers are gonna be at the gate with their little iPads, letting people through the door to get to people in through the door efficiently. I was like, no, you have a bunch of planners like this way, this way, this way, that way. So yes, I think, I think it's definitely what I love it. I love it. And I'm humbled by it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm humbled by it. I was at a venue that had like two tiers, two levels, and I was standing on the balcony overlooking everyone dancing. And an uncle comes up to me and was like, he said, hey kid, he said, you did all this. And I was like, I said, yeah. I said, you need something? I thought he needed something. I said, and he said, no. He says, it must feel really good to be able to orchestrate like the happiest moment in a person and two people's lives. And I was like, absolutely. I'm very humbled and honored and blessed to be able to put together two people. I mean, listen, I'm a Jesus girl, right? That's his first miracle is at a wedding. So, so it's one of those things. It's like, it's a beautiful thing that two families coming together to become one and just watching it all come together and knowing your couple's story and knowing their parents' story and knowing all that stuff. And sometimes I've had couples that had a hard road to get to the I do, like to get to the I do, whether it was personal or family or health reasons or whatever the case may be. And there's times where I see my bride fully dressed, getting ready to walk her down the aisle. And I start crying before we even get her to the aisle because I know how hard it was to even get to that point, right? So I definitely I love what I do.
Awesome, awesome. I'm loving what you do and all the clients that have, you have gotten down the aisle. Is there that one particular wedding or event that you have not done that you want to do? Where there's somebody
Yes, I
famous? Yeah, go
oh
ahead.
well, I really would have loved to do one of Jennifer's weddings, but we're done with that. Miss Lopez. So for years I was like, I'm Puerto Rican, she's Puerto Rican, we're both from the Bronx. It would be nice to do one of her weddings, but Lord, she's gonna be our Elizabeth Taylor, right? That's just the reality there. She's our
I
Elizabeth
say, still
Taylor.
not too late. She can still get married again.
Right, and she's in her early 50s, so maybe she'll do it one day. But I actually just told my husband the other day, I was like, I think if I had, if I when I get the wedding at the Plaza in New York City, I'll probably retire because
Mm.
I'm a New York girl and I grew up going to New York. I grew up, Eloise at the Plaza, brunches, like doing that. And like as a little girl, I was like, I want to live at a hotel. So I'm old enough. I'm a Gen Xer. There used to be a show back in the 80s, I think, in the 90s. It was called Hotel, and the
Mhm.
family owned like a historical hotel. I think like in Chicago, or I think it might have been Chicago somewhere. And then they lived on the top floor of the hotel. And I used to be like,
Mhm.
between that and Eloise, I was like, I could live at a hotel. So, but the Plaza is just like the epitome of like New York society, beautiful weddings. It's just a gorgeous place. So I told my husband the day, I was like, I think if I had a wedding in at the Plaza or a wedding in Italy, because those are the two places I would love, I would be happy if I retired. So I told him, I was like, I'm putting it out there. If I get a wedding at the Plaza, I'm going. But let's go to New York.
Well, as the old people say, speak it into existence.
Exactly. Speak it to existence. So yes.
And if you weren't planning events, what would you be doing?
I would probably be a director of events or a director of activities at a college. So since I started my my planning journey in the college educational realm as a student leader, and then worked on campus and all that stuff, like higher education and student leadership is heavy, like my next best thing. I started to do my master's degree in that, but I was like, between kids working at the hotel full time, I was like, that was too much. And I don't like online college. I just don't. I like in person. But higher education student leadership, like I would work at a college. And my husband was like, would you do events at a college? I'm like, no, because those people work harder than I currently work. Because I've done that. I've been in that department. They work harder for a much less pay because it's a college.
Awesome.
But I would work student leadership, be able to educate, train up the next, crop of student leaders. That would be my other thing I would do.
Okay, okay. We're going to round this out with some
Mhm.
rapid fire questions for
Oh, I love
you.
it.
What is your favorite time of the year?
Spring because it's my birthday and everything's in
Mm.
bloom. My allergies, my birthday's at the end of April, so my allergies don't like it, but I love. My anniversary is the first day of spring, which is in March, and then my birthday's in spring too. So I love spring.
Morning person or night owl?
Midday. I know that wasn't even one of your things. Midday.
I
Like I
said
can't.
that. It's like midday.
And I say midday because I'm not like I'm up in the morning, but I'm up in the morning because I have to be up to get the kids out the door. I'm moving. I like to have a slower morning. I don't start my like officially start my day till like 9:30, 10 o'clock, like where I can take calls and stuff like that. But for events or we had corporate events last a corporate event last week, I was up every day at 5:30. Like I have to get up, I gotta get up. But I get my stride like this time of day. Like I get a lot of work done, like 1 to like 5 or 6. Like I could crank out a lot of stuff. And I could, but I'm not a night owl. Like once the sun starts, like once 10, 11 o'clock comes along, if I'm not doing anything, I'm gone.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Mhm.
Mm.
I like it hot and sweet. I don't like no, I tell people I like my cream warm. I like my coffee hot, little sweet. Yeah, no iced coffee for me.
Do you eat grits?
No,
You don't eat grits.
unless
Okay,
they're
so I'm not
cheap.
gonna.
Unless they're cheesy and I like it's like a cocktail thing, whatever, with like bacon wrapped shrimp or something like that. But I'm a Yankee in that sense. I don't eat grits.
Okay, so I'm not gonna ask you the next question on that. Um, one word to describe your journey in this industry.
Unpredictable.
Okay. All right. Love
Mm.
it. Love it. Favorite event trend?
Ooh, favorite event trend. Honestly, first look.
Mm,
When that was
okay.
introduced, I remember when I was introduced, I've been in Atlanta 18 years and I worked at the hotel. So I guess, 14, 15 years ago is when I was kind of introduced to it. And so like the traditional side of me likes the whole grandness of opening the doors, and and the entrance, the bridal entrance. I love that because I love the dramatics of it. But the logistical side of me loves it. I love how everybody's a little calmer. The day goes better. Like the pictures are better. Everyone's like, you're not spreading around. So first looks when that came about it's still one of my favorite things to do.
Okay. All right. All right. Love. What advice would you give someone that is trying to enter into this industry?
Into the wedding and event industry as a whole or planning.
As a whole, the industry as a whole.
Um, Master your craft as much as possible, right? Get the education you need, get the training you need. We both have been in our businesses in this industry long before the education was out there. Like I started my business 13 years ago. And I remember when I first started, like 12 and a half, 13 years ago, there wasn't that much information even back then out there. Like you could find
Mhm.
things here and there. There was one lady named Debbie Quinn out of DC area. I don't know if you remember Debbie Quinn. She had a block top radio. Her company was called Weddings for Real, and she would teach planners how to have a wedding planning business part time while they worked full time. And that was the only education. And I found her by accident. By like I kept searching and I found her. But like get educated, find yourself a coach or find yourself a mentor. Get certifications if you need it. Just become a sponge for your actual category. So if you are catering, like, come up with your own recipes or master those other things, like just jump all into your craft. And then the other thing I would tell you is to get out and network, meet other people. But when you're networking with other people, don't go into it with what they can do for you. See how you could make their life better and how you could assist them and how you could be a benefit to them and to their clients.
Awesome. 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 So what's next for Miss Irene?
So what's next?
What's
How the
next
rest
for
of
you
this
and
year?
your brand?
For the rest of this year, we have quite a few conferences and some weddings. And then, I coach and educate planners. And so the next big thing that we're working on is our next retreat, which is end of January, beginning of February 2026. It's called Becoming the Business Retreat for Wedding Planners, and it's for planners at all different levels. And I'm here to tell you that it is an entire conference retreat, very intimate setting, that it's planned for planners by planners. And it's for planners of color and women of faith that just want to come together and be loved on and educated, and we do a lot of implementation. And then, we dance in between sessions because that's what we do, because you got to shake it off and you got to, rev back up and jump back into your business. But yeah, we teach you all about how to work on your business and in your business. So how to service your clients, how to run your business, and really to become a CEO that you could be happy and proud of.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I have enjoyed this conversation with you, Irene. I've learned some things about you that I did not know. So, thank
Yes.
you very much for this entertaining
Mhm.
conversation. How can people get in touch with you? How can they find you on social media, web? How can they find you?
Sure. So website is irenetyndale.com. And I'm pretty sure she'll put all the links down below. And then my planning Instagram is Tyndale Events. And then my coaching and education Instagram is Irene Tyndale.
Um, Well, again, Irene, thank you for being on here with me for our business
Thank you.
spotlight. And for those of you that are watching, please, watch these videos, get to know our members, get to know the person behind the brand. We love them. You're going to love them. Share these videos with others and just stay tuned because we have more and more members that we're going to bring to you. So thank you again for joining me for this episode of Business Spotlight.